The stars glittered like scattered diamonds against the endless black canvas of space. In this vastness, the Voidborn Collective moved with terrible purpose. Their massive ships, part machine and part living tissue, pushed through the darkness, between galaxies. They had conquered 17 galactic clusters over 3,000 years. No civilization had ever stopped them. The Voidborn ships looked like giant sea creatures with metal parts. Their hulls pulsed with strange blue light. The biggest ship, called the Overseer, was the size of a small moon. Inside it lived the main consciousness that controlled all the others. The Voidborn didn't talk like humans. They shared thoughts directly through their neural network, which worked faster than any computer humans had built. Commander Eric Taylor stood before the large screen in Earth's Defense Authority headquarters. His face looked tired and worried as he watched the latest reports. The Voidborn had just finished taking over the Andromeda Galaxy, Earth's closest galactic neighbor. Every planet there with intelligent life had been stripped of resources. The people were either dead or turned into new Voidborn soldiers. "How long do we have?" Eric asked, his voice low and rough from too many sleepless nights. General Laura Summers, a tall woman with steel gray hair and sharp eyes, pointed to the map. "Their scout ships will reach our outer solar system in about 3 weeks. The main fleet follows 2 weeks after that." Eric rubbed his eyes. "And our defenses?" "Not enough," Laura said simply. "We've moved all our battleships to form a defensive line near Saturn, but based on how easily they overcame the Andromeda Defense Coalition..." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. The Andromeda Defense Coalition had been much stronger than Earth's forces. They had fallen in 6 days. Across the solar system on the frontier outpost called New Horizon, Dr. Samantha Powell hunched over a workbench. The small piece of metal and tissue before her had once been part of a Voidborn scout ship. It had been recovered at great cost. 3 ships destroyed and 27 good people dead just to get this small sample. Samantha hadn't slept in 30 hours. Her red hair was tied back messily, and dark circles shadowed her green eyes. But those eyes sparked with excitement as her scanner showed new readings. "Daniel, come look at this," she called to her assistant. Daniel Rivera, a young scientist, with a brilliant mind for patterns, leaned over her shoulder. "What am I seeing?" "The neural pathways. They're all connected through quantum entanglement, but only at this specific frequency range." She pointed to the numbers on her screen. "Every part of their technology is linked through these quantum channels. It's how they communicate and coordinate across vast distances instantly." Daniel's eyes widened as he understood. "So if we could disrupt that frequency, we could break their entire network," Samantha finished. "One ship, even their big command ship, we could handle. It's their perfect coordination that makes them unstoppable. But if we could cut that connection..." She immediately reached for the communication console. This information needed to reach Earth as soon as possible. Meanwhile, in a hidden underwater base beneath the ice of Jupiter's moon Europa, Admiral Peter Collins walked through a massive hangar. His footsteps echoed in the cavernous space that housed Earth's greatest secret. "How close are we?" he asked the chief engineer who walked beside him. "The USS Defiant is at 97% readiness, sir," the engineer replied. "The stealth systems are fully operational, and the experimental weapons are installed. We're just finishing the final calibrations on the jump drive." Admiral Collins nodded, looking up at the ship. The Defiant didn't look like other human ships. Its smooth, dark hull absorbed light rather than reflecting it. No windows broke its seamless surface. Its shape was long and sleek, like a predator built for both speed and power. "And the crew?" "Captain Martinez arrives tomorrow with her senior officers. The rest of the crew is already aboard and running drills." Collins had personally selected Olivia Martinez to command this ship. She wasn't the most senior captain in the fleet, but she had something more important. She could think in ways others couldn't. She had won 3 unwinnable training scenarios by refusing to accept the rules as given. That was exactly what humanity needed now. The Defiant represented 15 years of reverse engineering alien technology, recovered from various encounters. It incorporated systems that most humans, even those in the military, didn't know existed. It had been built in secret, funded through hidden budgets because Earth's leaders had always feared something like the Voidborn might come. Now that fear had proven correct. Collins's secure communicator beeped. When he answered, General Summers's tense voice came through. "Peter, we've just lost contact with the Neptune monitoring station. Scout ships have entered the solar system earlier than we predicted." Collins felt his stomach tighten. "How many?" "Just 3 so far. But they took out our station in seconds before they could even send a warning. We only know because the automated systems registered the connection loss." "And the Saturn defense line?" "Still holding position, but if these scouts report back, the main fleet will accelerate." Collins finished her thought. "We need more time." As they spoke, one of the Voidborn scout ships approached Pluto's moon Charon. It scanned the small research base there, detecting 37 human life forms. The ship extended a long tendril-like appendage that pierced the base's communications array. Within seconds, it had downloaded all information stored in the base's computers and uploaded a virus that gave it control of all systems. The humans inside didn't even have time to send a distress call before the air was vented from their habitats. The scout ship processed the new information, discovering the locations of other human outposts and colonies throughout the solar system. It shared this data instantly with the other scouts through their quantum link. They adjusted their course toward the richer targets in the Jupiter and Saturn systems. Back on Earth, Commander Eric received Samantha's urgent message about the Voidborn weakness. For the first time in weeks, he felt a small spark of hope. He immediately contacted Admiral Collins on their secure channel. "Peter, we may have found something. Dr. Powell from New Horizon has discovered a potential weakness in the Voidborn neural network. If we can disrupt their quantum frequency, we might be able to break their coordination." There was a moment of silence before Collins replied, "Get Dr. Powell and her team to Europa immediately. The Defiant has equipment that might be able to exploit this." As Eric arranged for Samantha's emergency transport, the Voidborn main fleet sensed the successful infiltration of their scouts. In response, they increased their speed. The massive ships accelerated toward the Milky Way, hungry for new worlds to consume. Humanity's time was running out even faster than they knew. The transport ship carrying Dr. Samantha Powell and her team landed in the hidden docking bay beneath Europa's icy surface. As the doors opened, cold air rushed in, making Samantha shiver despite her thick coat. Daniel followed close behind, carrying their most important research equipment. Captain Olivia Martinez waited for them at the bottom of the ramp. She stood straight and confident in her dark uniform. Her black hair was cut short, and her brown eyes studied the scientists with sharp interest. "Dr. Powell, I'm Captain Martinez. Welcome to Europa Base. We don't have much time." Samantha nodded, too tired for small talk. "Take me to your lab and the Voidborn sample. I need to confirm my theory works on your equipment." Captain Martinez led them through long metal hallways deep under the ice. They passed rooms filled with busy crew members preparing for battle. Everyone moved with urgent purpose. The captain brought them to a large room with advanced equipment. In a sealed container at the center sat another piece of Voidborn technology, larger than the sample Samantha had studied on New Horizon. "How fresh is this?" Samantha asked, pulling on labby gloves. 3 days. We lost a stealth scout to get it, but the pilot managed to eject with this piece before his ship was destroyed. Samantha immediately went to work, connecting her devices to the ship's systems. Daniel helped set up their equipment while explaining their discovery to Captain Martinez. The Voidborn function as one mind spread across many ships. They use quantum entanglement to communicate instantly across space. If we can disrupt that specific frequency, we might break their connection. Captain Martinez watched them work. "And your weapon can do this?" "Not yet," Samantha said without looking up. "But with your ship's power systems, we might be able to create a pulse strong enough to interfere with their network. We'll need to get close to their command ship, though." "How close?" Martinez asked. "Too close," Samantha admitted. "Within firing range, at least." Martinez's face remained calm, but her eyes showed she understood what that meant. Getting that close to the Voidborn command ship seemed impossible. Yet impossible was exactly what the Defiant was built for. "Let me show you the ship," Martinez said. She led them through another set of doors into an enormous underwater hangar. There, suspended in a cradle of support beams, was the USS Defiant. It looked unlike any ship Samantha had ever seen. Its dark hull seemed to swallow light. No obvious weapons broke its smooth surface, though Samantha knew they must be there. "It's beautiful," Daniel whispered. "It's humanity's last hope," Martinez corrected. "Follow me aboard. You need to meet Lieutenant Kelly. He'll be working with you on the weapons systems." Inside the Defiant was a marvel of technology. Clean, efficient spaces filled with equipment that looked more advanced than anything Samantha had seen before. The crew moved with practiced precision, preparing the ship for its mission. Lieutenant John Kelly waited for them in the science lab. He was younger than Samantha expected, maybe early 30s, with short brown hair and intelligent blue eyes. He stood when they entered, offering his hand. "Dr. Powell, it's an honor. Your work on quantum frequencies is legendary." Samantha shook his hand. "And you're the navigation officer I've heard about? The one who can plot impossible courses?" Kelly smiled slightly. "I just see patterns others don't. But I'm also the ship's quantum physics specialist, which is why I'll be helping with your weapon." For the next 12 hours, Samantha, Daniel, and Lieutenant Kelly worked non-stop to adapt their disruptor technology to the Defiant's systems. The ship had power sources unlike anything they had access to before. With these resources, their theoretical weapon began to take practical shape. Admiral Collins visited while they worked, speaking briefly with Captain Martinez in the corner of the lab. Their faces were grim. "What's happening out there?" Samantha asked when she noticed them. Martinez hesitated, then decided they deserved to know. "The Voidborn scouts have reached Saturn. Our defense line engaged them 3 hours ago." "And?" Daniel asked. "We've lost 17 ships. They've lost none." The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this news. "How long until the main fleet arrives?" Kelly asked. "At their current speed, 4 days," Collins answered. "Maybe 5. Samantha turned back to her work with renewed urgency. "We'll be ready in 24 hours. "You have 18, Collins said firmly. "The Defiant needs to launch by then or it won't matter." While they worked, the situation in the outer solar system grew worse. The colony on Titan sent desperate messages as Voidborn ships surrounded Saturn's largest moon. Then the messages stopped completely. The 12,000 people living there went silent all at once. On the Jupiter moon Ganymede, civilians rushed to evacuation ships as defense forces prepared for battle. Military families said goodbye to loved ones, knowing these might be their final moments together. Back on the Defiant, Samantha finally connected the last component of their weapon system. She called it the pulse cannon, though it didn't fire any physical projectile. Instead, it would send waves of energy tuned to exactly disrupt the Voidborn quantum frequency. "Will it work?" Captain Martinez asked, looking at the unimpressive device now connected to her ship's main power core. "In theory," Samantha said honestly. "We've never tested it against actual Voidborn ships in combat." "We will soon enough," Martinez replied. Lieutenant Kelly finished his calculations at a nearby console. "I've plotted our approach vector. We'll use Jupiter's gravity to slingshot toward the Saturn system, then engage stealth systems. If Dr. Powell's modifications work, we should appear to the Voidborn as space debris or background radiation." "And if they don't work?" Daniel asked. "Then we'll be the fastest moving target they've ever shot at," Kelly said with grim humor. Captain Martinez called the senior crew to the bridge for final briefing. Engineers, weapons officers, and navigation specialists gathered around the command center. Their faces showed a mix of fear and determination. "Our mission is clear," Martinez told them. "We approach the Voidborn command vessel, deploy the pulse, cannon, and escape. If the weapon works, their network will collapse, giving Earth's forces a chance to fight back. If it doesn't..." She paused. "Then we make sure the Defiant's destruction takes as many of them with us as possible." No one spoke. After her words, they didn't need to. Every person aboard knew the stakes. Launch in 60 minutes. Martinez ordered. "Get to your stations." As crew members moved to prepare for departure, Admiral Collins approached Samantha. "Dr. Powell, I've arranged transport back to Earth for you and Daniel. Your work here is done, and you're too valuable to risk on this mission." Samantha straightened her back. "With respect, Admiral, I'm staying. No one understands this technology better than I do. If adjustments need to be made during the mission, you need me here." Collins studied her face, then nodded once. "Very well. Report to medical for combat implants and find quarters on Deck C." As the final countdown began, the massive underwater doors above the Defiant slid open. Water controlled by force fields created a tunnel to the surface of Europa. The ship's engines hummed to life, power flowing through systems built to challenge the impossible. Humanity's last hope prepared to face an enemy that had never known defeat. The USS Defiant rose through the tunnel of controlled water and broke through Europa's icy surface. The ship hovered momentarily above the frozen moon, its dark hull gleaming in the dim sunlight that reached this far from the sun. Then its engines flared bright blue, and it shot forward toward Jupiter. On the bridge, Captain Martinez sat in the command chair, her eyes fixed on the main screen. Around her, crew members monitored their stations with intense focus. Lieutenant Kelly's hands moved quickly over his navigation controls. "Course to Jupiter, gravity well locked in," Kelly reported. "Slingshot trajectory calculated." "Engines at full power," said the propulsion officer. "All systems green." Samantha and Daniel stood at the back of the bridge watching the crew work, with practiced efficiency. Samantha felt out of place in the military setting, but she knew her presence was essential. If the pulse cannon needed adjustments during battle, only she fully understood how to make them. "Approaching Jupiter in 3 minutes," Kelly announced. "Prepare for gravitational forces." The massive gas giant grew larger on the screen. Its swirling storms and colorful bands filled the view as the Defiant approached. The ship aimed directly at the planet, seeming to fly straight into it. "All hands secure for high-G maneuver," Martinez ordered through the ship's communication system. Everyone grabbed hold of nearby safety rails. The ship's compensators would reduce the force, but nothing could eliminate it completely. Entering. Gravity well in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Defiant plunged toward Jupiter, then curved around its enormous mass. The ship groaned under the strain as Jupiter's gravity caught it and whipped it around at tremendous speed. Everyone felt their bodies press hard against the ship's compensating fields. Then they were through, shooting away from Jupiter faster than any human vessel had ever moved before. The acceleration pushed them deep into their restraints before the ship's systems adjusted. "Slingshot successful," Kelly reported, his voice tight from the pressure. "Speed exceeding calculations by 3%. ETA to Saturn system 4 hours, 12 minutes. Martinez nodded, her face showing no sign of the stress they had just experienced. Engaged stealth systems were now entering active combat zone. The Defiant's outer hull changed subtly. Tiny nanoparticles rearranged themselves to absorb radar, light, and other detection methods. Special field generators activated, bending radiation around the ship. According to Dr. Powell's modifications, the ship now mimicked the background radiation of space, with just a hint of void-borne quantum signature to confuse their sensors. For 3 hours, they traveled in tense silence. Occasionally, reports came in from Earth about the ongoing battle at Saturn. The news grew worse with each update. Human ships were falling quickly to the void-borne scouts. The main fleet hadn't even arrived yet. "Entering Saturn system," Kelly announced. "Sensors detecting multiple void-borne vessels around Titan and Enceladus." The main screen showed a tactical map of Saturn and its moons. Red dots marked known void-borne positions. There were dozens of them now, with more appearing as they emerged from faster-than-light travel. "Where's the command ship?" Martinez asked. The sensor officer studied her screens. "Not present yet, Captain, but we're detecting a large quantum disturbance approaching from the direction of Uranus. It could be the main fleet arriving." Martinez turned to Samantha. "Dr. Powell, will your camouflage hold if we move closer to investigate?" Samantha looked uncertain. "It should, as long as they don't scan us directly. We're giving off the same Background radiation as void-borne technology, but at a very low level, like space debris or a damaged scout. Good enough? Martinez faced forward again. Lieutenant Kelly, set course for the quantum disturbance. Let's see what we're dealing with. The Defiant moved deeper into the Saturn system, carefully avoiding the areas with heavy void-borne presence. They passed the shattered remains of human defense ships, twisted metal floating silently in space. No one spoke as these grim markers of defeat drifted past their viewports. "Captain," the communications officer called suddenly, "I'm picking up human distress signals from Enceladus moonbase. They're still fighting." Martinez hesitated only briefly. "We can't respond or divert. Our mission is the command ship." The words hung heavy in the air. Everyone knew humans were dying while they passed by without helping. But they also knew that if their mission failed, all humanity would fall. "Quantum disturbance growing stronger," the sensor officer reported. "Something massive is coming through." The space ahead of them seemed to bend and twist. A hole appeared in reality itself, growing larger until it formed a massive oval. From this portal emerged the largest ship any human had ever seen. The void-borne command vessel was the size of Earth's moon. Its surface pulsed with blue-green light in patterns that hurt human eyes to watch. Extending from its main body were thousands of tendrils, some mechanical and some seemingly alive. Smaller ships swarmed around it like insects around their queen. "God," Daniel whispered. Even Captain Martinez looked shocked by the size of the vessel. She quickly regained her composure. "Distance to target?" 1,000,000 kilometers and closing, Kelly replied. "They're moving toward Saturn." Samantha stepped forward. "Captain, the pulse cannon needs to be within 100,000 kilometers to be effective. Any farther and the quantum disruption will be too weak." Martinez nodded. "Plot an intercept course, Lieutenant. Keep us hidden in the radiation from Saturn's rings." The Defiant changed direction, moving to intercept the massive command ship. As they approached, everyone grew more tense. They were flying directly toward the heart of the enemy fleet. Engineering reports pulse cannon charged at 80% and rising, the operations officer announced. "Full charge in 15 minutes. "We may not have 15 minutes, Martinez said. "Dr. Powell, what's the minimum effective charge?" Samantha calculated quickly. 65% might work, but I'd prefer at least 75 for certainty." "Understood. Weapons, prepare to fire at 75% if we're detected before full charge." The Defiant slipped between chunks of ice and rock in Saturn's outer rings. The debris helped mask their approach. On the main screen, the command ship grew larger with each passing minute. "Distance to target 200,000 kilometers, Kelly reported. "Closing fast." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. Red warning lights flashed on multiple consoles. "We're being scanned," the sensor officer shouted. "Directed energy beam from the command ship." "Have they detected us?" Martinez demanded. "Uncertain," the officer replied, working frantically at her station. The beam passed over us but didn't stop. Everyone held their breath, waiting to see if the massive vessel would turn its attention toward them. For long moments, nothing changed. The command ship continued its steady approach to Saturn. "I think we're still hidden," Samantha said quietly. "But we can't take another direct scan." Martinez nodded. "Distance to effective weapon range?" 120,000 kilometers, Kelly answered. 2 minutes to optimal firing position. "Pulse, cannon at 72% charge," the weapons officer reported. "Close enough," Martinez decided. "Prepare to fire on my mark." The bridge fell silent as they closed the final distance. The command ship now filled their entire view screen, its alien surface details becoming clearer. "In range," Kelly announced. 100,000 kilometers. Pulse cannon at 75%, the weapons officer confirmed. Martinez took a deep breath. This was humanity's moment of truth. Fire. The weapons officer pressed the firing control. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. The pulse cannon made no visible beam or explosion. Instead, invisible waves of quantum energy burst from the Defiant, racing toward the massive command ship. "Pulse. Away," the weapons officer confirmed. "Impact in 3 seconds." Everyone on the bridge held their breath. Samantha gripped the edge of a nearby console, her knuckles turning white. The quantum pulse struck the Voidborn command ship. At first, there was no reaction. Then, slowly, the pulsing lights across its surface began to flicker. Some sections went dark while others flashed erratically. "It's working," Samantha whispered. "The quantum disruption is affecting their network." On the tactical display, they could see smaller Voidborn ships near the command vessel, starting to drift aimlessly. Without the guiding intelligence from the command ship, they seemed confused. "Sensor reading?" Captain Martinez demanded. "Quantum. Communications between Voidborn ships are breaking down," the sensor officer reported, excitement in her voice. "They're losing coordination." For the first time since the mission began, smiles appeared on the faces of the bridge crew. "They're impossible." Plan was actually working. Then the smiles faded as the command ship's lights stabilized. The darkened sections began to glow again, though with a different pattern than before. "They're adapting," Samantha said, rushing to her console. "The network is reconfiguring to block our disruption frequency." "Can you adjust the pulse cannon?" Martinez asked. "I need time," Samantha replied, her fingers flying over the controls. "Maybe 10 minutes. "We don't have 10 minutes, the tactical officer warned. "Multiple Voidborn vessels changing course toward our position. They've detected us." Martinez didn't hesitate. "Lieutenant Kelly, evasive pattern Delta, get us some distance, weapons, prepare defensive systems." The Defiant lurched as it turned sharply away from the command ship. Its engines flared to full power as it raced back toward Saturn's rings for cover. 5 Voidborn pursuit craft on intercept course, the tactical officer reported. "Energy weapons. Charging." "Can we outrun them?" Martinez asked Kelly. He shook his head. "Not all of them. The Defiant is fast, but their scout ships are faster. Then we fight. Tactical, target the lead pursuer with kinetic weapons." The Defiant's outer hull shifted as weapon ports opened. Railguns extended and locked onto the approaching Voidborn scouts. The weapons fired, sending hypersonic metal slugs toward the enemy. The first Voidborn ship exploded as the projectiles tore through its hull, but the others kept coming. Energy. Beams lanced out from the pursuing ships, most missing as Kelly guided the Defiant through evasive maneuvers. One beam grazed the ship's rear shields, causing the lights to flicker briefly. "Shield impact, 20% damage to aft section," the damage control officer reported. "Holding for now." In the science lab off the bridge, Samantha and Daniel worked frantically to adjust the pulse cannon. They had expected the Voidborn might adapt to their first attack, but not so quickly. "We need to modulate the quantum frequency," Samantha said, connecting additional power sources to the cannon. "Hit them with a pattern they can't easily adapt to." Daniel nodded, programming the new frequency pattern into the weapon's control system. "If we use a randomized sequence based on prime numbers, their system will have trouble predicting the changes." On the bridge, another hit rocked the ship. This time the impact was stronger, throwing crew members against their restraints. "Direct hit to port engine housing," came the report. "Engine efficiency down to 70%. 2 more Voidborn ships have joined the pursuit." Martinez grimaced. "We can't outrun them and we can't outfight them all." Kelly set course for the command ship. "Captain?" Kelly looked surprised. "That would take us directly back into the heart of their fleet." "Exactly. Dr. Powell needs time to reconfigure the pulse cannon. Our only chance is to get close enough to fire again, this time with a stronger pulse they can't adapt to." Kelly nodded and changed course. The Defiant swung around, pointing directly at the massive command ship again. The pursuing Voidborn ship seemed momentarily confused by the sudden change in direction. "They didn't expect us to fly toward their command vessel," the tactical officer noted. "They're regrouping." "It won't take them long to figure it out," Martinez said. "Maximum speed, Lieutenant. Dr. Powell," she called over the comm system. "How much longer?" 3 minutes, Samantha's voice came back. "We're almost ready." The Defiant raced back toward the command ship, which now seemed to be responding to the threat. Energy weapons began charging on its surface as it detected the approaching human vessel. Multiple weapon systems activating on the command ship, Tactical warned. "They're targeting us. Evasive maneuvers but maintain our approach," Martinez ordered. Shields to maximum. The Defiant began to weave and roll, making itself a harder target while still closing the distance. Energy beams from the command ship cut through space around them, some passing close enough to heat the ship's hull. "Dr. Powell, we need that weapon now," Martinez urged. In the lab, Samantha connected the final circuit. "Ready. The new pulse is configured. It will hit them with multiple frequency shifts they can't predict. But we need to be closer than before." "How close?" Martinez asked. 50,000 kilometers, half our previous distance. Martinez looked at the tactical display. The command ship was still 70,000 kilometers away, and its defensive fire was increasing with every second. The pursuing scout ships were catching up quickly from behind. "We won't survive long enough at that range," the tactical officer said. What everyone was thinking. Martinez's face hardened with determination. "Then we'll give them something else to shoot at. Tactical. Prepare to launch all drones with engine signatures matching the Defiant." The tactical officer quickly programmed the drones. "Ready, Captain. Launch drones in all directions. Lieutenant. Kelly, plot a course directly through the debris field near the command ship's lower quadrant. Their sensors will have trouble tracking us there." The ship launched a dozen small drones that immediately began broadcasting engine signatures identical to the Defiant. They scattered in different directions, each appearing to be the human ship trying to escape. The Defiant itself plunged toward a thick collection of debris floating near the command ship. This wreckage, parts of destroyed human and Voidborn vessels, created a chaotic sensor environment. Voidborn ships splitting up to pursue the drones, Tactical reported. Command ship firing on multiple targets. Martinez allowed herself a small smile. "Keep us on course, Lieutenant. Dr. Powell, be ready to fire the moment we reach optimal range." The Defiant wove through the debris field, occasionally scraping against floating pieces of metal. The tactical officer coordinated point defense, weapons to clear the largest obstacles from their path. "Approaching optimal range," Kelly announced. 60,000 kilometers. 55. Suddenly the ship shuddered violently. Warning alarms blared throughout the bridge. "Direct hit to starboard engine," damage control shouted. "We're losing power." "Maintain course," Martinez ordered. "Divert power from non-essential systems." 50,000 kilometers, Kelly reported. "We're in range." Martinez looked to the weapons officer. "Fire the pulse cannon. Everything we've got." Once again, invisible waves of quantum energy burst from the Defiant toward the command ship. This time, the pulse was stronger and constantly shifting frequencies in patterns the Voidborn couldn't easily counter. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Entire sections of the command ship went dark. The energy weapons charging on its surface fizzled out. The smaller ships nearby began to drift aimlessly or crash into each other. "It's working," Daniel exclaimed as he monitored the results from the science lab. But their victory was short-lived. A massive energy beam from one of the few still functioning weapons on the command ship lanced out, striking the Defiant directly amidships. The bridge plunged into darkness as primary power failed. Emergency lights came on, casting red shadows across the faces of the crew. "Damage report," Martinez called out. "Main power offline, life support running on backups. Engine control compromised," came the grim response. "But the pulse cannon is still functioning on its independent power source." Martinez looked at her crew, then at the image of the crippled but still massive command ship on the screen. "Then we're not done yet," she said quietly. Captain Martinez pulled herself up from the floor where the last impact had thrown her. Blood trickled from a cut on her forehead. Around the bridge, crew members checked their stations and each other for damage. "Status report," she ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Main engines offline," the engineering officer reported. "Maneuvering thrusters at 30%. Hull breaches on decks 3 and 7. Emergency force fields holding. Weapons? Point defense systems offline. Pulse cannon still operational on independent power." Martinez nodded and turned to communications. "Send emergency signal to Earth. Tell them we've damaged the command ship but need reinforcements immediately." The communications officer worked his console. "Message sent, but I don't know if it got through. Our main antenna array is damaged." On the main screen they could see the Voidborn command ship. Large sections remained dark with erratic energy pulses flashing across its surface. The massive vessel was wounded but far from defeated. "What about the other void-born ships?" Martinez asked. "Most of the smaller vessels near the command ship are still disoriented," Tactical reported. "But the ships that were chasing us are regrouping. 4 minutes until they reach our position." Martinez turned to look at the science station where Samantha was working. "Dr. Powell, options?" Samantha looked up from her console, her face grim but determined. "The pulse cannon worked better than expected, but the command ship is already starting to recover. Their network is incredibly resilient. Can we hit them again?" "Yes, but each time we use the same approach, they adapt faster. We need something more powerful." Lieutenant Kelly spoke up from his damaged navigation station. "What if we used the ship itself as an amplifier?" Everyone turned to look at him. "Explain," Martinez said. "The Defiant's hull contains quantum-resonant materials. If we reconfigure the pulse cannon to use the entire ship as a broadcasting antenna, we could amplify the signal significantly." Samantha's eyes widened as she understood. "That might work. We could create a cascading quantum disruption that would spread throughout their entire fleet." "What would that do to the Defiant?" Martinez asked, already suspecting the answer. Samantha and Kelly exchanged glances. "It would overload all our systems," Kelly said quietly. "The feedback would destroy the ship's power core." Silence fell across the bridge as everyone understood what this meant. "How long would it take to set up?" Martinez finally asked. 10 minutes to reconfigure the pulse cannon," Samantha replied. "But we'd need to get even closer to the command ship for maximum effect." Martinez looked around at her crew. She didn't need to say anything. They all knew what was at stake. "Mike. Reconfiguration. Lieutenant Kelly, use remaining thruster power to bring us closer to the command ship." As the crew moved to carry out her orders, Martinez opened the ship-wide communication channel. "Attention all hands. Prepare to abandon ship. All non-essential personnel proceed to escape pods immediately." Throughout the Defiant, crew members looked up in surprise at the announcement. Some hesitated, not wanting to leave their posts, but their training took over. They began moving toward escape pod stations as damage control teams helped the injured. In the science lab, Samantha and Daniel worked frantically to reconfigure the pulse cannon. They rerouted power conduits and connected the weapon directly to the ship's quantum communication system. "This might actually work," Daniel said as they finished a critical connection. "The resonance pattern should cascade through their entire network." "It has to work," Samantha replied. "Otherwise, Earth is next." On the bridge, Martinez received updates as the escape pods launched, carrying most of the crew away from the doomed ship. Each pod was small and stealthy, designed to avoid detection. "All non-essential personnel evacuated, Captain," the operations officer reported. 23 pods away. Martinez nodded. "Remaining crew to your stations. This is our last stand." The tactical display showed the void-born pursuit ships closing in from behind, while the damaged command ship loomed ahead. They were caught between two deadly forces with no escape. "Dr. Powell, status on the weapon?" Martinez asked over the comm. "Ready, Captain," Samantha's voice came back. "The pulse cannon is connected to the ship's resonant systems, but we need to be within 20,000 kilometers for maximum effect. We're at 35,000 and closing," Kelly reported from navigation. "Thrusters at maximum." The Defiant limped toward the massive command ship, which was now starting to power up more of its weapons. Energy beams lanced out, most missing the approaching human vessel, but some striking glancing blows against the already damaged hull. Hull integrity at 42%, damage control reported. Another direct hit could breach the main compartments. Martinez remained calm. "Stay on course, Lieutenant. All power to forward shields." The pursuing void-born ships were getting closer. They would be in weapons range within minutes. 25,000 kilometers, Kelly announced, still closing. Samantha arrived on the bridge with Daniel. "Captain, the pulse cannon is ready, but someone needs to stay in the engine room to manually maintain the power flow during the pulse." Before Martinez could respond, Chief Engineer Alan Douglas spoke up from his station. "I'll do it. My place is with my engines." Martinez met his eyes across the bridge and nodded once. a silent acknowledgement of his sacrifice. 20,000 kilometers, Kelly reported. We're in optimal range. On the tactical display, the pursuing voidborne ships were less than a minute from weapons range. The command ship ahead had restored power to several major weapon systems. The Defiant was out of time. All remaining crew to escape pods, Martinez ordered. I'll initiate the pulse sequence. Her officers looked at her in surprise. Captain, you can't, Kelly began. That's an order, Lieutenant, Martinez said firmly. Earth needs to know what happened here. Take Dr. Powell and her research. Make sure this wasn't for nothing. After a moment of hesitation, the remaining bridge crew reluctantly moved toward the exit. Samantha paused at the door. The activation sequence is set, she told Martinez. Just press the main control when ready. Martinez nodded. Thank you, Doctor. Now go. As the final escape pods launched from the crippled ship, Martinez sat alone, on the bridge. On the screen before her, the massive command ship filled the view. Behind her, sensors showed the pursuing voidborne ships almost upon them. She opened a channel to the engine room. Ready, Chief? Power systems aligned, Captain, Douglas replied. It's been an honor. The honor was mine, Martinez said quietly. Then she pressed the activation control. The pulse cannon fired one last time. But instead of an invisible pulse, this time the entire Defiant glowed with brilliant blue-white energy. The quantum resonance built rapidly, as the ship itself became the weapon. A massive wave of energy expanded outward in all directions. It struck the command ship first, overwhelming its partially recovered systems. The disruption cascaded through, its quantum network spreading to every connected voidborne vessel. Throughout the Saturn system, voidborne ships suddenly went dark. Some drifted aimlessly while others collided with each other or nearby moons. The command ship itself seemed to convulse as sections exploded or shut down. As the quantum cascade reached its peak, the Defiant's power core overloaded. In a final flash of brilliant light, the human warship exploded. Back on Earth, sensors detected the massive quantum disturbance near Saturn. For several hours, no one knew what had happened. Then the first escape pods were recovered, carrying the survivors who told the story of what the Defiant had accomplished. Samantha Powell stood before the United Earth Defense Council, explaining the effect of the quantum pulse. The voidborne command ship has been neutralized, she reported. Their neural network throughout this sector has collapsed. For the first time, they're vulnerable. Admiral Collins nodded. And we're launching everything we have to take advantage of it. Every ship, every weapon. Will it be enough? Asked one of the council members. Collins looked at Samantha, then back to the council. The Defiant showed us they can be beaten. Captain Martinez and her crew gave us this chance. We won't waste it. As the meeting ended, Samantha stepped to a window overlooking Earth. Somewhere out there among the stars, the remaining escape pods were still waiting for rescue, Lieutenant Kelly and Daniel among them. And beyond Saturn, the damaged but still massive voidborne command ship drifted, its controlling intelligence shattered but not completely destroyed. The war wasn't over, but for the first time since the voidborne appeared, humanity had hope. The seemingly unstoppable force that had dominated galaxies effortlessly had finally been halted in its tracks by a single human warship. The battle for Earth's survival had just begun.